Every relationship hides a story, and every story carries pain. Welcome to Cheating Stories Insights, where truth bleeds through words. The church smelled like polished wood and old perfume. Mourning suits, black lace, whispered condolences, an orchestra of grief conducted by hypocrisy. Her grandfather's coffin sat at the front, surrounded by white lilies. He'd built an empire from nothing, a shipping company worth $27 million, a penthouse overlooking the harbor, a yacht the size of a small dream. When the will was read, the room turned to glass, every breath fragile. My wife, Margot, was named the heir. Everything went to her, the yacht, the penthouse, the company. And me? She turned, smiling faintly, and pressed a small, wrinkled envelope into my hand. "From my grandfather," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Laughter followed, pitying, knowing laughter. I opened it. Inside was a single, one-way plane ticket. To Rome. No letter, no explanation. Margot's father chuckled. "Guess the old man wanted you out of the way." I said nothing, just folded the envelope back into my pocket. My wife avoided my eyes. That was the first crack. The first quiet fracture in the illusion we'd built together. The flight was long, silent, and heavy. I kept asking myself why. Why Rome? Why me? Why now? When I landed, a man in a black suit stood at the terminal with a sign bearing my name. "Mr. Ward," he said with a faint accent. I nodded. He opened the car door and said 6 words that made my jaw tighten, not drop. He said, "You'd know where to go." The words weren't shocking, they were deliberate, chosen. He said, "You'd know." I didn't, not yet, but something inside me did, a memory, long buried beneath Margot's laughter and my obedience. I didn't speak during the drive. The car wound through narrow cobblestone streets until we reached a hill overlooking the city. The driver stopped beside an old villa, paint fading, vines strangling the walls. He handed me a key. "He left this for you," he said. Inside, the air smelled of dust and salt. The villa was empty except for one room, a study. On the desk, a box. Inside, documents, bank statements, ledgers, and a letter. If you're reading this, you've already lost what you thought mattered. Now you'll understand what you were really part of. My pulse slowed. The handwriting was unmistakable. Her grandfather's. The rest of the letter was colder. Margot and her mother took what wasn't theirs 20 years ago. They used me, the company, and you. She married you for cover, not love. But I've corrected that mistake. The Rome accounts were never in my company's name. They were yours, under a different registration. You are now the sole owner of every vessel and account tied to the Italian branch. Leave the rest to her. She'll destroy herself trying to hold it. My hand trembled slightly, not from joy, from realization. He'd known everything. The affairs, the manipulation, the slow, quiet humiliation I'd swallowed for years. And this was his revenge, delivered through me. For the next 3 days, I didn't return her calls. She'd sent 12 messages, then 30. "Where are you? This isn't funny. They're asking questions about the company accounts." I waited, watched, let her unravel. The news broke by day 4. Margot's inheritance, her gifted empire, had a hole in it. The offshore logistics branch, the backbone of the business, was gone, transferred, frozen, to me. Her laughter at the funeral replayed in my mind like an echo through marble halls. She'd thought the envelope was a joke, a humiliation. She never realized it was the key to everything she didn't deserve. When I finally called, her voice cracked before the first word. "You knew," she whispered. "No," I said, "but he did." "What are you going to do?" "I already did." Silence. I could almost hear her shaking. "I loved you," she lied. "You loved what I didn't have," I said. "Now that I do, you hate it." She tried to sound composed. "You won't last without me. You don't understand the business." "I don't need to," I said. "I just own it." Her breathing faltered. "You'll ruin everything." "I'm just letting the truth breathe," I said. Then I hung up. Days later, I returned to the same villa. I sat on the terrace overlooking the city, the night swallowing the skyline. The transfer was complete, the accounts secure, her empire crumbling. I received one last email from her, just 5 words. "You turned him against me." I didn't reply. Because she was wrong. He'd turned himself against her the moment she became him. Cold, greedy, manipulative. She'd inherited his sins, not his empire. I stayed in Rome for months. I learned to walk slower, to breathe without tension, to speak without being corrected. Sometimes I replayed the funeral in my mind, the laughter, the crumpled envelope, the way her family pitied me. They thought I was the fool in the story, the naive husband, the outsider who didn't belong. But the old man had seen the truth long before I did. He'd built his vengeance into the architecture of legacy itself, and I was the last brick he laid. People think revenge feels like fire. It doesn't. It feels like still water, deep, quiet, reflective. When I pass the harbor now, I see her yacht anchored beside mine, unused, untouched. She still owns it, technically, but she can't afford to move it. She lost everything chasing a number. I found peace in what couldn't be bought. The driver still visits sometimes, brings letters from the lawyers, documents to sign. Tonight, as he handed me the last envelope, he smiled faintly. He always said you were the only one who listened. I asked, "Listen to what?" He paused. "To silence." I looked out at the sea, the city flickering beneath it like a dying memory. The world believes Margot won the inheritance, but I inherited something far more valuable. The truth behind every quiet betrayal. They gave her his empire, but he left me his revenge, written in silence and sealed with a ticket to Rome.